A pleasant day to all of you. Before I proceed to my report, I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Angelo Lupitan from Optic M11, and today I'll be discussing the Module 5 titled Freud's Psychoanalytic Theory. Let's go. Also, at the end of this module, all of you are expected to explain Freud's views about child and adolescent development, draw implications of Freud's theory to education. Introduction. Freud's views about human development are more than a century old. He can be considered the most well-known psychologist because of his very interesting theory about the unconscious and also about the sexual development. Although, a lot of his views were criticized and some considered him debunked. He himself recounted some of his earlier views. Freud's theory remains to be one of the most influential in psychology. Well, his theory sparked ideas in the brilliant of minds and other theories, thus become the starting point of many others. Freud's psychosexual stages of development. Freud is the most popular psychologist to study the development of personality, also probably the most controversial. His theory of psychosexual development includes 5 distinct stages. According to Freud, a person goes through the sequence of these 5 stages, and along the way, there are needs to be met. This theory is quite interesting for many because Freud identified specific erogenous zones for each stage of development. These specific pleasure areas that becomes a focal point towards the particular stage. If needs are not met along the area, a fixation occurs, and as an adult, the person will now manifest behaviors related to this erogenous zone. The oral stage. The oral stage occurs between birth to about 18 months. During this time, an infant gets most of their pleasure from their mouth. This is associated with behaviors like eating and thumb sucking. Freud believed an infant can develop oral fixation if their oral needs aren't met. This could happen if they're weaned too early or late. In this scenario, they're unable to appropriately adjust to new eating habits, and as a result, these unmet needs were believed to determine personality traits and behavioral tendencies in adulthood. Anal stage. During the anal stage, Freud believed that the primary focus of the libido was on controlling bladder and bowel movements. The major conflict at this stage is toilet training. The child has to learn to control their bodily needs. Developing this control leads to a sense of accomplishment and independence. According to Freud, success at this stage is dependent upon the way in which parents approach toilet training. Parents who utilize praise and rewards for using the toilet at the appropriate time encourage positive outcomes and help children feel capable and productive. Phallic stage. Freud suggested that during the phallic stage, the primary focus of the libido is on the genitals. At this age, children also begin to discover the difference between males and females. The child becomes aware of anatomical sex differences which sets in motion the conflict between erotic attraction, resentment, rivalry, jealousy, and fear, which Freud called the Oedipus complex in boys and the Electra complex in girls. This is resolved through the process of identification, which involves the child adopting the characteristics of their parents or the same. The latency stage is the 4th stage of psychosexual development, spanning the period of 6 years to puberty. During this stage, the libido is dormant and no further psychosexual development. Freud thought that the most sexual impulses are repressed during the latent stage, and sexual energy can be supplemented towards schoolworks, hobbies, and friendship. Much of the child's energy is channeled into developing new skills and acquiring new knowledge, and play becomes largely confined to other children of the same gender. The genital stage. It is the last stage of Freud's psychosexual theory of personality development, and it also begins in puberty. It is a time of adolescent sexual experimentation, the successful resolution of which is settling down in a loving one-to-one relationship with another person in our 20s. Sexual instinct is directed to heterosexual pleasure rather than self-pleasure like during the phallic stage. For Freud, the proper outlet of the sexual instinct in adults was through heterosexual intercourse. Fixation on conflict may prevent this with the consequences that sexual perversions may develop. And before we proceed to the next quarter, I would like to encourage everyone to watch and enjoy the video on the next scene. That is all. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, this is Jay. Welcome to Bright Ideas. Here are the 5 stages of psychosexual development. Number 1 is oral stage. Number 2 is anal stage. Number 3 is phallic stage. Number 4 is the latency stage. And number 5 is the genital stage. According to Freud, a person goes through the sequence of these 5 stages, and along the way, there are needs to be met. Whether these needs are met or not determines whether the person will develop a healthy personality or not. The theory is quite interesting for many because Freud identified specific erogenous zones for each stage of development. These are specific pleasure areas that become focal points for the particular stage. If needs are not met along the area, a fixation occurs. As an adult, the person will now manifest behaviors related to this erogenous zone. Number 1 is oral stage from birth to 18 months. The erogenous zone is the mouth. During the oral stage, the child is focused on oral pleasures like sucking. Too much or too little satisfaction can lead to an oral fixation or oral personality, which is shown in an increased focus on oral activities. This type of personality may be oral receptive, that is, have a stronger tendency to smoke, drink alcohol, and overeat. It may also lead to oral aggressiveness, that is, with a tendency to bite his or her nails or use curse words or even gossip. As a result, these persons may become too dependent on others, easily fooled, and lack leadership traits. On the other hand, they may also fight these tendencies and become pessimistic and aggressive in relating with people. Second one is the anal stage from 18 months to 3 years. The child's focus of pleasure in this stage is the anus. The child finds satisfaction in eliminating and retaining feces. Through society's expectations, particularly the parents, the child needs to work on toilet training. Let us remember that between 1.5 years to 3 years, the child's favorite word might be no. Therefore, a struggle might exist in the toilet training when the child retains feces when asked to eliminate or may choose to defecate when asked to hold feces for some reason. In terms of personality, fixation during this stage can result to being anal retentive, an obsession with cleanliness, perfection, and control, or anal expulsive where the person may become messy and disorganized. The third one is the phallic stage from ages 3 to 6. The pleasure or the erogenous zone is the genitals. During the preschool age, children become interested in what makes boys and girls different. Preschoolers will sometimes be seen fondling their genitals. Freud's studies led him to believe that during this stage, boys develop unconscious sexual desire for their mother. Boys then see their father as a rival for her mother's affection. Boys may fear that their father will punish them for these feelings. These feelings comprise what Freud called Oedipus complex. In Greek mythology, Oedipus unintentionally killed his father and married his mother Jocasta. Psychoanalysts also believe that girls may also have a similar experience developing unconscious sexual attraction towards their father. This is what referred to as the Electra complex. The fourth one is the latency stage, from age 6 to puberty. It's during this stage that sexual urges remain repressed. The children's focus is the acquisition of physical and academic skills. Boys usually relate more with boys and girls with girls during this stage. And the last one is the genital stage, from puberty onwards. This stage of psychosexual development begins at the start of puberty when sexual urges are once again awakened. In the earlier stages, adolescents focus their sexual urges towards the opposite sex peers with the pleasure centered on the genitals.
Good day, everyone. I am Robin Indecine from Optech M11, And today, let's focus our mind and learn about Freud's personality component. But before that, I would like to share a video with regards to this topic. Please watch carefully, enjoy, and listen.
One of the most enduring and important ideas of Sigmund Freud was that the human mind can be divided into 3 levels of consciousness: the unconscious, preconscious, and conscious minds. My name is Robin Wallace, I'm a doctor in psychology, and in this video we will explore 3 personality structures, which are the id, ego, and superego. The id operates in our unconscious mind, which means that it is not accessible to our consciousness. The id is often pictured as a little devil whispering on your shoulder. He is selfish, instinctual, impulsive, and refers to an unconscious psychic energy that strives to satisfy basic needs such as sex, eating, and aggression. Specifically, the id is based on the pleasure principle, which demands immediate gratification by gaining pleasure and avoiding pain. Think about a newborn child who is crying because he seeks pleasure through food and attention, with no regard to the consequences. He demands immediate gratification regardless of the burden caused to his parents. Next, the second personality structure is the superego, which is mostly unconscious and often pictured as the little angel smiling on your shoulder. He is like an internal judge who is based on the moral principle. He tells you what is right and wrong, what is socially acceptable to do, think, and feel according to real-world rules, moral, and norms. Finally, the third personality structure is the ego, which is basically our conscious self. The ego is who we think we are. It has the ability to make decisions. The ego operates on the reality principle. It is like an executive mediator who tries to satisfy both the needs from the id and superego in a realistic way. Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine that you have to study for an exam or you have homework to do. The id is based on the pleasure principle and immediate gratification, so when you will start studying, you will have thought like, this is boring, why am I doing this? And the id will put pressure on you to do something pleasurable, like watching a TV series, going on social media, anything that will give you immediate gratification. Then, the superego is based on the moral principle and will act like a judge by giving you thoughts like, doing my homework is the right thing to do. I should do it for my career. And the superego will pressure you by rewarding or punishing you. For instance, you will feel proud like a good student if you study, or ashamed like a terrible student if you quit your task before finishing it. Between the id and the superego, you have the ego, which is based on the reality principle. The ego will find a compromise by analyzing both sides. That's right, this homework is a bit boring and I want to do something more pleasurable, but if I don't make it, I might fail my exam or my class. And so the ego will find a decision in a realistic way. This is how the 3 personality structures work. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments below your examples of the id, ego, and superego, and do not forget to feed my id with an immediate gratification by liking this video and subscribe to my channel. Stay safe and healthy. Bye.
Personality is the totality of one's behavior towards oneself as well as others. It includes everything about a person's physical, emotional, social, mental, and spiritual makeup. However, psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud is said to be one of the most influential people in 20th century, and the father of psychoanalysis described the personality structures as having 3 components: the id, the ego, and the superego. And for each person, the first to emerge is the id, followed by the ego, and last to develop is the superego. According to Freud's psychoanalytic theory, the id is the primitive and instinctive component of personality. It is a part of the unconscious that contains all the urges and impulses, including what is called the libido, a kind of generalized sexual energy that is used for everything from survival instincts to appreciation of art. The id is also kind of stubborn, for it responds only to what Freud called the pleasure principle. If it feels good, do it, and nothing else, which is the idea that every wishful impulse should be satisfied immediately, regardless of the consequences. When the id achieves its demands, we experience pleasure. When it is denied, we experience unpleasure or tension. The ego is that part of the id which has been modified by the direct influence of the external world. The ego is the only part of the conscious personality. It's what the person is aware of when they think about themselves and is what they usually try to project towards others. The ego develops to mediate between the unrealistic id and the external real world. It is the decision-making component of personality. Ideally, the ego works by reason, whereas the id is chaotic and unreasonable. The superego incorporates the values and morals of society which are learned from one's parents and others. It develops around the age of 3 to 5 years during the phallic stage of psychosexual development. Superego is seen as the purveyor or rewards feelings of pride and satisfaction, and punishments feelings of shame and guilt, depending on which part the ego deal or conscious is activated. Terms of the three components and personality adjustment. Freud said that a well-adjusted person is one who has strong ego, who can help satisfy the needs of the id without going against the superego while maintaining the person's sense of what is logical, practical, and real. Of course, it is not easy for the ego to do all that and strike a balance. Freud believed that the personality of an individual is formed early during the childhood years, and the ability of a learner to be well adjusted is largely influenced by how the learner was brought up. His experiences about how his parents met his needs, the extent to which he was allowed to do the things he wanted to do, and how he was taught about right and wrong, all figures to the type of personality and consequent adjustment that a person will make.
Well, good morning, magandang umaga, may buntag to all of you. I'm Ria Limalima from OTEC M11. Now we know about the Freud stage psychosexual development and personality components and the three components and the personality adjustment. Let's move on to the next topic, which is the topographical models, different levels of consciousness. There are three levels of awareness in humans' consciousness, which is divided into three, namely conscious, preconscious, or subconscious, and unconscious. Each of it interfere and overlaps the idea of Freud of the id, ego, and superego. Let's discuss the first level of consciousness, the conscious. It is the existence of our current awareness. It consists of what is sound, so include the thoughts, the feelings, the memories, and wishes which you are at any given moment. For example, at this moment, you may be consciously aware about the information you're reading, such as the PowerPoint presentation, or the sound of the music that you're listening, or even the conversation that you're having. All the thoughts pass through your mind, the sensation and perception from the outside world, and memories you bring into your awareness are all part of the conscious experiences. The second level of awareness is subconscious. It contains information that is just below the surface of awareness. It can retrieve with relative ease and usually can be thought as memory or recollection. For example, if someone asks you right now, what is your middle name, or when your father's birthday was, you would be able to recall it. The memories of past experience lived in. What Freud referred to as the subconscious part of our minds that we may not be aware of one moment and then fully focus on the next. The unconscious contains of thoughts, memories, desires that bar deep in ourselves and far below our conscious awareness. Even though we are not aware of their existence, they exaggerate influence in our behaviors. It is a reservoirs of feelings, thoughts, words, and memories that are outside of our conscious awareness. Throughout the childhood, we gathered many different memories and experiences that form the beliefs, fears, and insecurities that we carry today. However, we cannot recall most of those memories. They are unconscious forces that drive our behaviors. For example, things in your unconscious that might be forgotten includes negative experience from your past or a traumatic event that you push out of your subconscious. That's all for the three levels of consciousness. And for the last part, let's have the iceberg metaphor, which used by Freud to describe the three levels of mind. Let's watch this.
Hi, this is Jay. Welcome to Bright Ideas. Freud used the analogy of the iceberg to illustrate the topographical model of the conscious, the unconscious, the subconscious, and the non-conscious. The first one is the conscious. Freud said that all that we are aware of is stored in our conscious mind. Our conscious mind only comprises a very small part of who we are, so that in our everyday life, we are only aware of a very small part of what makes up our personality. Most of what we are is hidden out of reach. The conscious mind involves all of the things that you are currently aware of and thinking about. It is somewhat akin to short-term memory and is limited in terms of capacity. Your awareness of yourself and the world around you are part of your consciousness. The next one is the unconscious. Freud said that most what we go through in our lives, emotions, beliefs, feelings, and impulses, deep within, are not available to us at a conscious level. He believed that most of what influences us is our unconscious. For example, the Oedipus and Electra complex were both buried down in the unconscious, out of awareness due to the extreme anxiety they caused. While these complexes are in our unconscious, they still influence our thinking, feeling, and doing in perhaps dramatic way. The unconscious mind is a reservoir of feelings, thoughts, urges, and memories that are outside of our conscious awareness. The unconscious contains contents that are unacceptable or unpleasant, like the feelings of pain, anxiety, or conflict. The last part is the preconscious or subconscious. This is the part of us that we can reach if prompted, but is not in our active conscious. It's right below the surface, but still hidden somewhat unless we search for it. Information like our telephone number, some childhood memories, or the name of your best friend or best childhood friend is stored in the preconscious. While these memories are not part of your immediate awareness, they can be quickly brought into awareness through conscious effort. For example, if you were asked what television show you watched last night or what you had for breakfast this morning, you would be pulling that information out of your preconscious. The water may represent all that we are not aware of, have not experienced, and that has not been made part of our personalities, referred to as the non-conscious.